So this is round 3 of the Jerry Spann Memorial Tournament here in Oklahoma City. Um, I'm off to a decent start. I'm sitting at 1.5. And I am playing against a guy named David Luscombe, and he is a 2100. I did manage to draw a 2200 in the previous round, so I was feeling pretty good about this round. I have played against David 2 other times before, and he has beaten me both times. David's a really strong player. I highly respect him. But I will say, the 2 times that we played, I had the black pieces in both games. And the second time I played him, I had actually a winning position for the majority of the game. But I ended up just slipping up towards the end when we were both in a time scramble and throwing the game away. So I was actually very, very optimistic about this game, the fact that I have white. So I open the game and with e4. He responds with the Sicilian defense, c5. And so far, this is a lot of Sicilians. Three rounds in and 3 Sicilians. So I, of course, decide to go play the open Sicilian. And he goes for the Najdorf variation. And I've played a lot of different things against the Najdorf before. I've played bishop c4, I played bishop g5, and I played the main line with bishop e3. This game I had to go for bishop c4. He goes e6, blocking the bishop. And I go ahead and play bishop b3, just stepping out of any b5 advance. And he plays bishop to e7. And I go ahead and start my attack with g4. I just want to march this pawn forward and play g5. So here he has he has kind of a hard decision to make, because if he goes, say he just wants to stop it, he plays h6. Well, now I can just go rook g1 and then prepare h4, g5. And how is he ever getting his king to safety in this position? So one thing he could do is he could just castle into it, but that looks a little bit scary. In the game, he ended up playing knight c6, and also if he goes knight e7, and then I go g5, well, now his knight has to go back to g8, which is obviously not a good move. You really don't want your position to look like this. So he goes knight c6. I continue with my plan, g5. And he throws in this capture. Interesting though, if he doesn't throw in the capture, say he goes knight back to d7, I can already just sacrifice on e6, and this is already a really great position for black. Say he goes queen a5, I can take with check, and we play on, and this is just a beautiful position for white. So, of course, he doesn't want to go for that, so he throws in the in-between capture here. And then instead of going knight d7, he plays knight h5, because he wants to just try to slow down my h-pawn advance and play a little bit more actively on these squares. So in the game, I played h4, just defending my pawn. And one thing I did in this game compared to a lot of other Najdorf games I've played online is I played a little bit slower and more controlled. Like, I decided to play a little bit more safe moves and just play the position in a way where I just was giving him a lot of respect this game, because he's just so much higher rated than me, and I've lost to him twice. So I just wanted to play simple chess, and that's all I did this game. And you're gonna see going forward. So he does decide to castle. So alternatively, he could have just began his attack with b5, and it probably would have transposed, say, something like bishop e3, bishop b7, and then here I would have probably continued similar to what ended up in the game. Like if I played rook g7, let's say he goes queen c7, I probably would have castled. He could try rook c8, but at some point he's going to have to worry about f4, f5, so he's going to have to castle. But in the game, he goes castles immediately, I develop my bishop out to e3. He goes b5. He starts his attack. I go ahead and castle. So both sides are castled, opposite directions. We're both going to want to attack each other. One thing is the h5 is slowing my attack down. So a part of my plan is to go knight e2, knight g3, and try to trade this knight off. If I can do that, that would be perfect. My other idea is to play f4, f5. And those are kind of the two main ideas. I was thinking more in the game about knight e2, knight g3 as my idea, just to eliminate this defender so that I can start moving this h-pawn forward. So I'm never really scared about the move b4. In fact, I welcome the move b4 because it helps my knight get to where he wants to be. So he continues bishop to b7. I just play very solid, rook g1. Getting off the long diagonal for my rook. And right here, he played a move I wasn't really expecting. He played queen to a5. And I didn't really understand this move in the game. I was looking at rook c8, just putting his rook on the c file. Because in some positions, not now, but you can maybe threaten to sacrifice the exchange, and also just x-raying the king. To me, this made way more sense. Queen a5, I thought, just didn't do a whole lot. And here, like I said, the engine wants me to just say f4 and says white has a clear advantage here, but I decided to play it a little bit more slow and just play king b1 because I was anticipating rook c8 and I just wanted to get off the file. And right here, my opponent came up with kind of a weird idea I've never seen before. He goes bishop c6 because he wants to prepare b4 so that on knight a4 he can presumably take. So he wants to prevent the knight a4, but little does he know, my plan is not to play knight a4. My plan is to go knight e2, knight g3 and trade off this knight like I had mentioned earlier. So I thought this was just a really weird move. And right here in this moment, I probably should just go f4, f5. But I decided to play it slow with f3, trying to just see what he wants to do. During the game, I didn't register this idea of going b4 and then trading off the bishop. But you're going to see this is what he does, which is kind of strange. And I continue with my plan to trade off his knight. And he captures the bishop. Now, this is a really important point in the game. I can either capture with the a pawn or the c pawn. And I decided to capture with the c pawn. And you're going to see why in the game. Because his only plan in the position is to push the a pawn, a5, a4. And I just want to be able to capture and say queen captures, play b3, and then have a piece just defend laterally. And you're going to see this happen in the game. He moves the queen. I play rook back to g2. And this is all prophylaxis. It's against the a4, a5 advance. He plays a5, I play h5, continuing my own attack, and he finally plays a4. I capture, he captures back, and then I play b3, and he retreats his queen. Now, I was really happy in this position because how does black actually create an attack against me? I've defended off his attack. My rook laterally defends. What can he do? The answer is he can't do anything. He's just in a worse position, and I just have free reign on the king side. It's going to take him a lot. Like he probably wants to maybe double up with his rooks, but he can't even do that immediately because I just can take his rook. So he has a lot of problems to solve. The only thing black does have going for him is he has the c3 square. If he could maybe get his rook into c3, this could be a way to move forward. But apart from that, I have his attack completely defended. I continue with h6, and I'm threatening checkmate. He goes e5. Huge decision, because now he's weakened the d5 square and forever, and d6 is also a permanent weakness. And I had this option. I could go queen d5 here, and I thought this endgame was really good for white. I mean, he has a weakness. I can just double up, and also this pawn over here is kind of weak. But I also kind of felt that maybe he can hold the position against me. I wasn't 100% certain. So I decide after, this is probably my longest think of the game, whether to trade queens. I think I spent like 10 or 15 minutes thinking here if I wanted to trade the queens. And ultimately I just decided to go back to queen d2. I thought I was risking nothing here. I didn't think he really had a serious attack, so I decided to keep queens on the board just a little bit longer. And he plays g6, as he really doesn't want me to take and then use the h file. So g6 is kind of forced. I play f4, and I just want to start advancing this f pawn. And if he ever takes, I'm happy. I'm pressuring this. And also say he tries to defend it, I can play something like this, threatening mate, bishop back, and then I have this nice idea of bishop c1 coming here. So even if he tries to trade queens, I can just move my, well, here it just hangs the pawn, but then I'm threatening bishop b2. So he's extremely weak on this diagonal. So taking there is never really desirable for him. So in this position, he just brings his rook, which I anticipated. I was assuming that he wants to play rook c3 and then maybe double up here. I continue with my plan, f5. I just want to play f6 and try to entomb his king. And obviously the taking here is pretty bad. For example, if he takes and then say, what could be a move here? Well, it's hard to really make a move here. Just taking is really bad. So I guess he couldn't really find a move, so he played queen c5, just attacking the pawn. And at first I really wanted to play this move f6, but he actually takes with check. And this all of a sudden gets messy. So I decided to just play queen d5 and just say, hey, let's play the endgame. Of course, if he takes here, I'm always happy. Threatening f6, can bring my rook over, pressure. This pawn's weak. Really happy with the endgame. And so I was expecting him to just retreat the queen and not go for the endgame, or just accept the fact that he had a worse endgame and trade the queens. But in the game, he played this move, trying to trade on his own terms by making me capture so that his rook can capture. But this is what I wanted anyway, so I just snapped it and then played f6 and just proceeded to trade off the rooks. We trade, I bring the other rook, and of course, he can't just move it away. Say he goes like this, well, goodbye to the bishop. So he plays rook c7, I trade off, and then I just start to bring my king. And my king's just gonna come to c4 and win this pawn, and then I'm gonna have two connected pass pawns, and this is just a winning endgame. So he starts to bring his king, I bring my king up, he brings his king over, I march my king, I take the pawn, and he really can't do anything. Like, what does he do here? My only weakness is defended. He can never push d5, I just win a pawn. He doesn't have anything, so I just start marching my pawns, and he might have this idea of maybe getting in here and playing this, so I just shut it down with king d5. He plays bishop c7, and I just start marching my pawns. And in this position, he resigns. So this was a really good game. This is probably my most convincing win. It was much more convincing of a win than my previous victory over the 1900, because I had to play a long endgame and I even hung a knight. Whereas this game, I was kind of just in control the whole game. I didn't really have any issues. I really played my moves almost like a blitz game. Like, I was playing very quickly. I just felt very comfortable with my position. I think he just had the wrong attacking ideas with this queen a5, bishop b7, bishop c6 maneuver. Yeah, I think I just played a really good game and had a good idea of what was going on. So this was the third round, and I will hopefully be getting up my fourth round tomorrow. So I will see you then.